Welcome back to the Awareness Angle interviews, where we talk to the people who get it, the ones who are actually making cybersecurity human. This week, I'm joined by Lori Steuart. She's a content marketing pro who's worked with some of the biggest names in cyber, and she now helps to run a synth repair business on the side. Yes, really. We get into why security awareness is like launching a startup, how you can cut through the corporate noise, and why your marketing team might be the biggest security risk no one's talking about. There's talk of fishy smelling resistors, building secure habits like muscle memory, and why comedy might be the secret to winning hearts and minds. You can find more episodes like this at riskycreative.com, here on YouTube or on your podcast platforms. But right now, let's listen to what Lori's got to say and what she brings to cyber. Here we go. Welcome to the Awareness Angle interviews. Today, I am joined by Lori Steuart, an amazing content marketer that I met on a marketing course. Lori, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me today, Ant.
It's you're where in the world are you talking from today?
Today, I am based in Toronto, Canada. Most days, I'm based in Toronto, Canada, although the past few months have had me all over the world, which has been a lot of fun, meeting marketers and cybersecurity marketers and cybersecurity professionals. And that's when I met you, was like just a couple months ago.
Absolutely. We're going to get into that because I think that's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Lori met at a marketing course hosted by Louis Grenier. And it was a STFO, stand that out, marketing course. And it was quite an intimate course, wasn't it? But you'd flown all the way over from Canada to come to this course, go to a conference, and then go and drink some whiskey.
Yes, literally in that order. It was perfect.
So how was the whiskey? Let's get to the important part.
Oh my God, it was delicious. I feel like we joked that it was like the smoke was coming out of our pores by the end of the trip, and we were only there for 2 days. But we're big like Lafroig and Lagavulin fans, so we flew to that tiny little island in Scotland and just had a great time.
Excellent. Right, but today we're going to get into marketing. Okay, we can dabble on whiskey a little bit later. But I want to get into marketing and essentially the parallels between what we do as security awareness professionals and what you do as marketers. Now, you understand the cybersecurity space, don't you? You've worked. What's your relationship with cybersecurity?
Yeah, so I've been in and out of the cybersecurity space basically my entire marketing career, the last 10 years. I'd say 7 of those I spent either in or around cybersecurity. Where I first cut my teeth in marketing, let alone cybersecurity marketing, was in the early days, 2015, helping market a tiny startup in Canada that had a ransomware product. So they were all about, that's when I first learned about disaster recovery and business continuity and all of those fun, those fun things that actually, keep organizations running when the worst thing happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I got my start. And then since then, in and out, I did some consulting as well on my own. Most recently, I'm with Content Workshop. So we're a content marketing agency, and we work with a lot of cybersecurity clients. That's like my side of the business. All of my clients are cybersecurity. We're really kind of honing in on them. We know that we can offer them a really good service in terms of, helping them demonstrate their expertise and build trust with their clients. Cybersecurity is all about trust. So making sure that you have the right content that's really speaking to the right people is really, really important.
Yeah. And I think anyone that's listened to me talk, which if you're listening to this, you probably have listened to me talk on more than one occasion. I'm a strong advocate in the fact that security awareness is essentially sales and marketing, but for our product is secure behaviors and being secure. And I think that's something that would be good to kind of cover today in the content that we produce. So content you produce is primarily B2B, I take it. It's
Yeah.
so for cybersecurity companies to other companies wanting to buy their product.
Yeah.
But content is content, and it's still the pitch is slightly different. What's the difference between content that lands and content that gets ignored? There's a big, bold question for you.
And it's a bigger question with AI coming out, right? I mean,
Oh,
it's even raised the bar from, people kind of turning. Sometimes when people think about content, they think about like content mills, like these like nasty agencies or companies that are just churning out the same article and they spin it through the machine like 50 times to make it a little bit different and then they post it on
yeah,
another site and it gives everybody the ick. It just makes
yeah.
everybody.
The
Yeah.
human content really stands out now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In amongst all of the content that's out there.
Yeah, it does. And I think you can tell when the writer, we always work with actual writers, actual humans at our agency. And so you can tell when a human's had their hand in a piece of writing. It's always grounded in some sort of emotion. It's grounded in some kind of story. It's just grounded in a way that when AI or any kind of machine attempts to write something, it's coming from a really high level theoretical place because they just like literally can't have that grounded experience in what this person's gone through. So a lot of our writers that work for us, like some of them have CISSPs, like some of them have actually responded to, threat actors that are breaking in or trying to extort and things like that. So they can write from this place of experience that you just don't get otherwise. And I
Yeah,
think readers pick up on that. Cybersecurity professionals are one of the most no no BS. Like they are not going to put up. They can sniff it a mile away because they're trained to. They're trained to sniff out anything that's not real, anything that's not authentic, anything that's not trustworthy. And so as marketers, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard when we're trying to help a cybersecurity company, a provider, work with another organization, work with their IT team or their cybersecurity team or their SOC team. Like, really, they have to hit that higher bar. And I think that's one thing that's led me into this career is I always like the challenge. It's, I think cybersecurity marketing is one of the most challenging fields you could try to work in.
so I guess cybersecurity marketing, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of companies doing a very similar thing, and everyone is challenging for the same kind of, you know, war chest,
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah, basically.
Yes.
It's a
So,
zero sum. So someone's going to win,
yeah.
someone's going to lose, whether that's, the organization switching from one vendor to another or one solution to another. It's
So that's really, there's a parallel there between awareness communications, because
mhm,
we're trying to communicate how to be secure and stuff that happens in the news, but you're up against, you know, holiday entitlement, and you're up against business announcements, and you're at end of year reports, and can everybody please wash their mugs up in the kitchen and not leave them in the sink? You're up against all that corporate
mhm.
noise. So how do you get heard? How do you not just blend in with that white noise that is created? How do you get people to actually listen?
Well, and this is where I think that where you and I have talked about this before, and I feel like there's two different ways of kind of look at like we've actually talked once or twice.
I know. How does that happen?
So it's interesting because when you look at marketing and what marketers are trying to do, we are actually trying to tap into demand that already exists. So there's already some awareness of a problem. People are actively searching for it because they know that
Mm.
they need to, whether you're selling cybersecurity or whether you're selling synth repair services or whether you're selling a marketing.
We'll get to that in a
We
minute.
get to
That's
that
relevant.
later.
We'll get to that in a sec.
But you're tapping into a problem that already exists. In marketing, we know that 95 of the 100% of people that could possibly buy from you, 95% of them are out of market. They are not looking for the solution right now. They don't need a solution to their problem. There are 5% of them that are in market. So even if your marketing gets to the right people, they're not always ready to buy from you. So what marketing is trying to do is create a lot of awareness so that when the person has that trigger, something happens, we're top of mind. The company or the solution is top of mind with that person. So when I look at
So-
where awareness, like cybersecurity awareness
So
training is at, you're not necessarily tapping into a demand because the idea is like it's a little too late. If you're caught, like if
yes,
your audience is calling you, you're top of mind, sure, maybe when something bad happens, but you're trying to train them to avoid that trigger from happening. Like when I
with
get that
this is
email, I don't want to click on the link and I know that I don't want to click on the link. Right. So you're coming
this
at
is
it
completely it.
opposite.
It's
Yeah.
essentially what you're talking about is if I'm in the market for a phishing platform,
Hmm.
or if I'm in the market for new annual training, I get approached by the companies trying to sell, or I see the companies that do annual security awareness training or that provide a phishing platform. And I'm only in the market for that when my 3-year contract ends or
Yeah.
when my 12-month contract ends. But
Yeah.
when that's drawing to a close, I'll call the ones that I remember because I've seen
Exactly.
their marketing.
Exactly.
What security awareness is doing, and we did talk about this just before I hit
Hmm.
record, so this spoiler alert.
Well,
Um, what security awareness is doing is, and it's essentially something brand new. And I've had a couple of conversations on the podcast with new or emerging products or things that offer something different.
hmm
And it's, if someone isn't necessarily looking for that, you're a startup in a new idea with a new approach.
yeah.
That's essentially what we're trying to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because people aren't out there thinking, how can I be more secure online? I know I'm going to watch this training course and I'm going to read this, because
Yeah.
people don't really care.
No.
So
It's
we're like, and I think you said before I hit record, we're essentially a startup in a
yeah.
new space, in a
Yeah.
new vertical almost,
Yeah.
that people don't realize they want it yet.
Yes, exactly. It's like you've got this, you're a startup and you're this, revolutionary new product, this new thing that everybody needs to know about because everybody's got this problem, but they don't realize that either they have this problem or that problem that they have, they normally think about XYZ ways of fixing it, but you are A. You're like ABC way of fixing it, and they don't
Mm.
even know that's a reality yet. And so how do you even go about telling them, "Oh, wait, you can fix this problem, but it's this way instead of the way you always think it is."
But they might not even think it's a problem.
And they might not even think it's a problem at
They
all.
might not even think
Yeah,
it's a
they
problem.
might not
Like
realize it at all. Or it might just be so systemic. Like, before we were doing ransomware, it was a storage software-defined storage company, was, like, really where the first startup I worked in started. So that's a type of solution. So we have like software-defined networking. I don't know if cybersecurity folks will be too much into the IT side, but you can have like software-defined networking, which is more like VMware and everything that they do, right? It's this like virtualization of the server and the compute. But we were trying to do virtualization for the storage. And how do you manage all this stored data, the data that's like sitting at rest? It's not going to go anywhere. It shouldn't even really be archived because nobody's accessed it in like 6, 9 months, a year. What do you do? How do you free up like higher valuable storage devices like SSD and DRAM so that you're not, and put the older things on like old storage servers. So it's like that's what we were trying to do. But a lot of there was like just awareness around software defined storage was so minimal. Like it just didn't exist. Like it had been tried about 10 years before, didn't
Mm.
didn't go over very well. So even though the concept was out there, it was like really bad in the market. And so when you're trying to, then you're sort of you're in this position where you're not trying to convince people to buy you in this suite of alternatives. You're just trying to convince them that this thing exists at all. And it's just a huge education play as opposed to a performance or a conversion play as like other ways that we talk about it in marketing.
So you're not just saying buy me,
Yeah.
you've got to go, here's why you should buy me.
Here's
And
your
here's
problem
what
to
I am, and
start
here's
with.
why you should care, essentially.
Here's so it's like when you're starting that, usually you're going on like, you're hitting up every single, at the time, if there was like a podcast we could be on, we were trying to be on it. We were on every stage we could get to. We were at everything we could do so we could start to talk about this idea. And it's getting buy-in on your ideas, I think, is like the hardest part of any type of like educational or awareness push. It's getting buy-in on the idea. So for your actual clients, like these people in your organization, you're the cybersecurity awareness educator or trainer, you're like, guys, I need you to know about that. But it's more about what you're trying to do is almost like add a whole new world into their minds that they don't know exists yet. And so, like, how do you slowly introduce them to the idea of these things before it becomes, in their mind, is probably just like the next time they're ever going to think about it is, oh my God, I got hacked. Oh my God, my bank account credentials were stolen and there's $5,000 missing from my bank account now. Like, that's when they're finally thinking about it. But I think it's a tough challenge for you guys because what you're trying to do is make it so that people are just kind of breathing it every day. Like, you want it to be part of their habits and their skill set, not just are they aware of it, right? Like, that kind of thing. It's definitely, you guys are like the physios. You're like trying to build this muscle with your clients, and it's tough.
You know what? I've never really thought of it as a muscle before, but it kind of is. I love that, because that is a real good way to describe it, because the more you use it, the stronger and the better it becomes. And essentially, being secure is like a muscle, and you need to exercise that muscle and use it in order to, for it to become second nature. It's like when you start running. Running's really hard. I've not passed this point. Running's always been hard. That was a really bad example. I did 100. My daughter will tell me it was only 86 miles, but it's called Ride London. It's like a 100-mile bike ride
Oh
around
my
London.
gosh.
I did that a few years ago, and it was 86 miles because a tree came down and they had to reroute some of the course. But every time I say I did it, my daughter's like, "You only did 86 miles." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." But doing 10 miles initially was difficult, but then you build up to it, don't you? And it becomes easier. So, where was I going with that? With the exercising?
Well, I think when we're talking about like cybersecurity as a form of like a habit that you're trying to build,
Yes.
look at it through a different lens. Like, for me, having worked in like with cybersecurity companies for cybersecurity companies for like 10 years, and I run a business with my husband where we repair vintage synthesizers. Now we're pulling it back together. But as a business owner, I feel very lucky that I have this exposure to cybersecurity and this world where I like, as a small business, I'm setting up all of my systems. I'm setting up the Google Drive. I'm setting up our Slack. I'm setting up all of these systems that work together. I understand, though, the risk and the stakes of insecure habits in these
Yeah.
systems, like insecure actions. And so when I set everything up, I was like, first thing we're doing is everyone's getting on a password manager, because number one, that is like the easiest thing you could ever do. I feel like I'm a password manager at every single company I ever work for. I'm like the advocate. I'm like, how I'm on the marketing team, but we use so many passwords in marketing. And so my password manager probably has over 1,000 passwords in it. And I'm like, there's
Right.
no way I'm keeping this all in my head. Right. But as a small business owner, I built that in from the ground up because it was important to me and I was aware of it. It's like, it's this habit. It's that itch you can't turn off. Like, when you do yoga every day and you skip a day, your body's kind of like, but I want to move,
Yep.
And it's like that with the right, I think when people build the right habits, these are the natural outcomes, is they are just going to behave more securely.
So the reason you do yoga is because you'll feel better if you do yoga, and you might not get injured, or you might not suffer a sprained muscle or something like that. The reason you have secure behaviors now is because you know the risks of not having secure behaviors, and you understand what could happen if you don't use a password manager.
Wow.
There's a couple of things you mentioned on there that I want to pull back on. So first of all,
Jump in.
small business. You run the small business.
Yes.
Synth repair shop. You're not the synth repairer though, are you? That's your husband.
No, I mean, I'm the finance operations girl, and occasionally marketing, because we're a small business. We don't have to do a ton of marketing. And he gets to this. I'm pointing over here because we're in the shop. So if anybody's watching this, this is the studio we have upstairs. And
That's not a fake background.
that's not a fake
Look at that.
background.
That's,
Those are
how awesome is
actual
that?
synthesizers. I don't know.
You win the award for the best backdrop so far. So well done.
So he's just down there with other techs repairing the actual things. Yeah.
So how do you, when you bring things like a password manager in, or what's the reception like to them about, do you have to sell being secure to them? So you
Yeah.
have to like, look, here's why I'm asking you to use or telling you to use a password manager
Yeah.
because,
And it's very much
and you have to
selling,
sell that to,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Every single
yeah,
person that I know who's like not in security or not like very technologically aware, they don't even think about password managers. Like they're like, I use the same password for everything. And I'm like, oh no, you don't know how many times that thing's been bought and sold on the web. Like, let's not
no,
even mm-mm. Um so
yeah,
so it was, I mean, thankfully we're a really small team. I had to get 3 people on board. I basically was like, you have to use this or you're not going to be able to log into your stuff, you know?
yeah,
So I sort of helped them with the actual onboarding into it where it's like all of your passwords are in here. This is where they're going to live. You only have to remember one. You only ever have to
yep,
remember one and it will do the rest of the work for you and it'll make sure everything's super secure. And they're like, well, if I only have to remember one. And then they got into the habit of it. The hard thing was when I changed password manager vendors, and then that was a bit of a learning curve on the new one. Nobody was
yeah,
very happy about that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we got where we needed to go. Everybody still uses it, so that's the important thing.
Do you know if they use password managers now in their own personal
Yes.
world?
Yes, they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've actually secured their world.
Yes.
You've like helped that secure behavior they've had at work, they've now brought into their own personal lives and made that more secure. So
Yes.
success. That's a great example. Anyone listening that, is having trouble justifying password managers, there's a great example there. So that's really good.
Absolutely. But it's
The other,
oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say the other thing you mentioned there, just to pick up on, was over 1,000 passwords.
Oh, yeah.
So you and me previously have spoken about
Mhm.
working in a marketing environment.
Yeah.
And, I think the conversation we were talking about risk, and I was like, the high risk areas are finance and the people team and, your help desk.
Mhm.
And you were like, and marketing. And I was like, what? And
Like, marketing, that's
essentially,
fluffy. That's the fluffy stuff.
but essentially, in your mind, marketing was a high risk area when it comes to things like passwords and secure behaviors.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have so many passwords. Like, I mean, it starts even just with, for example, and it was funny because I think you pointed this out when we were chatting. Because I'm like, well, we got all these different apps, all these different software. We got the social posting software. We got every single social platform that exists. We have to have logins, and they're not always the same. Sometimes you're sharing a major account login across 10 different people. So that is everyone's trying to access the same account and the same login password. Sometimes it's by user because you can actually set up users in them. And then that's a whole, everybody's got their own login and they need to manage those. And then there's things like, for example, like Meta, Facebook, where in order to post on a Facebook page, you have to be signed into a personal account. And then
I
you get
can't believe
access to the ads manager and the business
I
manager.
can't believe that's still a thing.
I mean, I
I
think they
dealt
might
with
have
that.
I haven't run ads on Facebook in a few years, so they may have made it so you can actually sign in with a proper business
Right.
address and it's separate from your Facebook account now, but I think they still maybe even validate that you're a real person with your individual account, even if it's not connected. It's just
It's
the
mad.
whole thing.
It used to be that way because I
Yeah.
remember bringing this up at a company I used to work for, and I was the social media team. There were all quite young and the type of people that probably went out and enjoyed a drink on a Friday night or whatever,
Mhm.
before they had responsibilities. And I was like, what happens if that person's phone, their mates nick it off them and decide to post on social media on their behalf? And they're like, oh, let's do it under that company name. And before you know it, 11 o'clock on a Friday night, X companies posted something offensive on their social media. I'm
Yeah.
surprised it probably does happen. But it's it's
And it's not
that
just
kind of
PR risk. Like that's a risk
yes,
of like any bad actor. So if people are less, you know, secure about the way that they handle their personal logins, because for some reason people are like, wow, it's just my personal. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about me. I'm not going to
mm,
worry too much about my passwords. And then the bad actors get those passwords and those give them the back kind of back end in, if you want to think about it in cyber terms, a lateral movement to get
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
over to the professional passwords, then that's a huge risk. And that's why, like, when you bring on these password managers, I believe a lot of them do allow you to set up, like the user themselves, to set up their own, like, you can have your own personal vault where you keep all of your personal passwords just so that you know they are there and they're safe. Because when you're a company that's working with an individual, it's the individual's entire environment. It's all of their behaviors, even when they're off the clock, can affect that company if they're exposed, right? So,
Yeah. The most vulnerable age group, I don't know who did the study, but it was recently announced that Gen Z, that whole kind of, 18 to 26 or whatever it is also the most vulnerable age group now. And I would imagine that not all of them, but you've probably got a chunk of that age group working in marketing or in marketing teams, because it's quite a
absolutely.
sexy industry to work in.
Isn't it? Especially when you're
I don't know
young.
why.
Is it though? I don't know.
I don't know. I always quite liked it,
Yeah.
but
I'd
I never
be
did it, but I quite
I
liked it.
kind of like I think about a lot of these like creators and stuff like that. Like even if they're just influencers online, man, get your stuff locked up, get that password manager. It is the if the only thing you do in security for anything you ever do is get a password manager, yes, get that password manager.
Yeah.
Because it'll also tell you when there's been a breach and you should update your password or force you to change those passwords and handle all that stuff for you. You don't have to go on a 100 password hunt to be like, oh, I remember it being across all of these sites.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a small business owner,
Mm.
co-owner or
Mhm.
owner,
Mhm.
how, just pivoting slightly,
Yeah.
ransomware is a concern to most people at the moment. It's been in the UK, it's been in the news lots over the past couple of months because some big businesses have been impacted heavily
Yeah.
by ransomware. And I've known a small business that's been impacted by ransomware. If you were to come in tomorrow morning and you lost access to all of your computers, if all of your computers were ransomware,
Yeah.
what would the impact be for you, do you think?
So for me, hopefully
Of
more minimal because we have a backup solution. That was one of the
brilliant.
big things I got for us last year. And I even wound up on a call with the CTO and I was asking him questions that I barely remembered that I knew to even ask about from back in these days, right? When I got my crash course in ransomware and archive and
Yeah.
backups and where are your servers and like how are you actually securing this and what would happen in this kind of scenario, and they answered all of my questions to I was very satisfied. I was like, okay, we can spend this because if we went down, I mean, what is the terminology? There's a terminology for like uh what the like how bad would the impact have to be, like how long would it take
Yeah.
for you to be able, like, you need this, what is your latest recovery point basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for us, I mean, if we want to be lazy about it, if we want to really push it, I mean, a week would still probably be a bit long.
Yeah.
We have like over 130, 150 instruments in our shop at any given time, and they're all in different states of repair. And so we log all of the repairs that happen on them. So if a week had gone by, I think the guys could still remember the latest thing that they did on the most recent stuff they worked on. Would we have the full
What about,
log of like everything that we worked on 3 months ago? That's still here that we're still working on, but we had to put it aside to get parts in and they're taking a
yeah,
while from the distributor or something like that. That's where it would start to maybe get a little bit, scary, but probably a week would be the longest.
it's funny, isn't it? Because when you sit down and think about it, you think, okay, how am I going to order parts? How do I manage the accounts? How do I,
Mhm.
sort out payroll? How
Yes.
do I, all of those
Oh,
systems
yeah,
now?
if payroll was coming up, that would be like, "If we don't have this tomorrow, I'm gonna have to do this by hand? Crap, call the accountant," you know what I mean? How do I even run payroll without,
Yeah.
by hand? It calculates, my
Yeah.
software does it all for me. If I can't get
Do you know
into
what as well?
systems. Yeah.
It's those it's small businesses that you never hear about in the news that get impacted as well. You hear about the big names, but it's the businesses 3, 4, 6, 10, 20 employees that you would rarely hear about in the news because they're not newsworthy.
No.
But it's that impact. Imagine you'd feel that, wouldn't you? And it detract from other work and
I mean, with some
massive.
companies, it might shut them down, right? Like,
Yeah,
depending on how they
yeah,
run and what's their cash flow like and how do they work with what kind of clients do they have, how often do they get paid, like, by those clients so they can pay their staff, there's a huge ripple-on effect from ransomware and
yeah,
extortion and just systems being shut down. Whether it's just business disruption, like, they're just shutting it down, or whether it's gone to extortion and now they want all this money out of you, like, that could completely cripple a small business, right? Depending on the
absolutely.
amount. And I don't think those guys are trying to bleed them so that they can't survive because potentially they're a target in the future. Why would you, why would you cut down
Yeah,
the tree, just take a limb off if
yes,
you're looking through their minds? But, it's that kind of thing. Like, it could be
yeah,
completely catastrophic for some of these companies. And I feel like when it hits even municipalities, like, we've had quite a number of municipalities and higher education institutions, and even just in Ontario, that have been hit by ransomware attacks, and it's nasty to see, and that they don't. I feel like government historically just does not fund cybersecurity initiatives within government very well. So I just feel like
no,
they're never as secure as they need to be. And this is like, if you're looking at PII and, like, the most highly privileged information, our government institutions are the ones who hold all of that. It's
yes.
sort of a
It's
backwards way of looking at it, right?
what we were talking about like you were doing checks with your backup company about how they handle your data.
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
if we were to do that with our local councils or authorities, they would fail those tests more often than not. It's
Yes.
recently was discovered that part of the UK government is still running on Windows 3.11, Windows 3.1, which is like a 25-year-old operating system
Oh
now.
my god,
Do you
that's excruciating.
know, but they're probably not the only one. That report's gone
No.
public, but it's probably elsewhere. I want to pull it back to marketing
Sure.
for a second
Yes.
because I feel like there's lots of incredible knowledge in that noggin of yours that we haven't tapped onto yet. So,
We'll see. Don't put it too high up there. Don't set the
well, we'll see. I can always cut this bit out if it isn't very good. Don't worry. We're talking about content and storytelling.
Mhm.
So, storytelling, I think you've used that word 2 or 3 times now. Storytelling's important in marketing. Why is it important in marketing?
It creates an emotional connection with the person that's reading it. Like, it really when you think about stories, it's putting yourself in someone else's shoes every time. Like, you pick up a novel, you pick up a book, you're trying to understand something, you're trying to learn something new. There's a little bit of drama. You usually want a little bit of drama. Sometimes you talk about the hero's journey, things like that. You want to give people something that actually matters to them and can resonate with them in any way. That's why storytelling is really important. Because if you can say this thing protects you, but, like, it isn't like, it's just that's cool. Cool, great. So what? Like, so when? So
Mm.
why? Why does that matter to me right now? And when you can contextualize something in a way that can then connect in a deeper and resonate with people in a deeper way, that's what the storytelling part of it tries to do.
Is there a storytelling technique that you think works well, or is there a formula, or is it just telling a story? Can it take many different shapes or forms?
It can definitely take many shapes or forms, and I wouldn't say that storytelling is relevant for every single situation. Like, sometimes
Mm,
it just needs to be information, and that's totally fine and totally valid. You don't need a huge story walking people through your data sheet. Like, that's not it's
mm.
not the place for a story. So
Connect this capacitor to this, because if you don't connect this capacitor is going to feel really
it's gonna
sad.
feel
And
really sad, and what that means, it's gonna blow up on you. Like,
imagine the capacitor exploding in your face. Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
I get
seen
it.
some smoke come out of things down there.
I bet you have. I bet you have.
It's not cool. It
Especially
is
with
kinda
vintage
cool.
synthesizers. I bet that's something that can happen
Pardon?
more often than with vintage synthesizers. I bet
Oh,
that's something that can happen more often.
it's usually once we're in. usually once we're in them, you see like, oh my God, they cracked open. You can smell. I remember, this is such an aside, and I'll get back on to storytelling in a second.
Okay.
My
Well, you're
husband,
telling a story.
my husband,
So
yeah,
it's,
this is neat.
yeah, yeah.
My husband had me come down. He's like, you want to see what? I can't remember if it was I don't think it was a capacitor. I think it was a resistor. And he was like, you want to know when you got bad resistors? He put the soldering iron on the leg of the resistor, and just like the smell that wafted up to me was like fish. And he was like,
Oh,
when they go bad, they smell fishy. And I was like, oh my God. Like when you are repairing these things, you are using every single one of your senses to understand what's gone wrong in it. It's just
you know,
absolutely bonkers.
that story is completely like resonated. Not only we've got fishing. So you've mentioned
Yes.
fish,
Yes.
which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you've mentioned using different senses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like a lot of the behaviors that we talk about. If any security awareness professional is doing their job half decent, they'll be talking about emotions and the way things make you feel. And if they feel or look, I mean, smell's not really a sense we use in cybersecurity, but the other senses or taste, but look or feel are definitely, or ones, or sound now, obviously with voice cloning and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. If it
Sounds
sounds
all
different,
fishy. Yeah.
yeah,
Believe it.
yeah. So
Do
you
you?
told a good story there. I
Oh,
think that's
thank
good.
you. Do you watch Severance?
I've seen the first couple of episodes. That
Yeah.
was it.
I just remember seeing, I think it was another like cybersecurity professional posting on LinkedIn about, you know, like them sitting on their computers, and like you wait and you click until like you'll know it when you see it. Like you'll know it when you feel it. It's this like bad feeling. And a cybersecurity professional being like, that's literally I think, is that what are they doing what we do? Because that's like, when we're looking through things and we spot something suspicious, that is the feeling. It is not a good feeling. I was like, I love this. They really don't know what they're doing on that, like in that company, but like the idea of like being able to rely on your gut. And I feel like it's the same as critical thinking and other like literacy skills. It's the same thing. It's just cybersecurity literacy. It's like, do I know what something suspicious looks like or smells like? Not always fishy, but
Well, I think we need to rely on that more than we ever have because,
Mhm.
a lot of the old signs, poor spelling, poor grammar, and the technical giveaways, there's been so many improvements now in the technology and the way it comes, and AI helps cyber criminals
Mhm.
that don't natively speak your language
That much
speak your
they do.
language better.
Yeah.
AI's got a better grasp of the English language than me at times, so it can
Yep.
write a more accurate email.
Yeah.
So that feeling and that emotion is quite important now, I think.
Mhm. It is, and to be able to kind of figure it out it's that muscle everybody needs to start practicing. Like you gotta work on it. You gotta use it a little bit every day. And I mean, what was it? When I was at that conference in March, which unfortunately you weren't able to make it to, there was an amazing
Yes,
talk right at the
this was the marketing meetup, wasn't it?
the
Yeah.
marketing meetup, their first big worldwide conference. Um, there was a fellow at the end, and actually he was from IBM, and like I think maybe had been on the cybersecurity side. But anyway, very interesting conversation about 1,000 hours and 1,000 minutes and 1,000 seconds, and like how really, really small, even if you bucket it down to 1,000 seconds, I think was something like 13 or 15 minutes. And
Yeah.
if you do even just like 1,000 seconds every day of something, you will build that habit, you will build that strength. And if you look at it, if you do 1,000 seconds every day and you times that, you do that for 10 days, then you've done, I don't know math, 100,000 seconds.
Yeah.
Anyway, the way
Yeah.
he laddered it all up, he's much better than I am at explaining this. But it was this idea of just that little bit every day. And I even noticed that when I was playing piano. Like I was, learning piano as a kid. I'm like 13. I felt like I was coming to it late. I felt like I was, everybody's been playing since they were 6 and I'm getting started
Yeah.
at 12, 13. Like I'm
Yeah.
so behind. But even when I couldn't sit down and maybe spend an hour practicing, even 15 minutes, like when I would do maybe 20 minutes a few times a week, and that was enough to get me like, I jumped up from levels into grades within the first year, and like
Mm.
it was really cool. Just the tiniest bit of time can make such a huge difference. It's just muscle memory.
So, so that leads us onto what everyone seems to talk about now, which is nudge theory and nudging,
Yeah.
because that's essentially, and I get that this is essentially similar, like marketing does this with these little things, but the cybersecurity awareness space is now like pushing nudges. It has been for the past few years.
Yeah.
But I just said pushing nudges. There's got to be a borderline there between nudging without feeling pushy. Like
Yeah.
if you were being told you had to practice 15 minutes every day.
Yeah. But what's something they naturally do that allows them to practice it every day? Is it using the password manager? I mean, collectively over a day, you're probably spending 15 minutes interacting with that thing, at least in my line of work, for sure I am. And so, like, what is that thing that even maybe is just part of their daily life? Like, they're a fish swimming in the water and they don't notice the water, right? But it's there and it's informing them and it's changing their perception of what they see. And like, I
Yeah.
think that's what we're trying to change. What you're trying to change is the water. Like, what are they seeing? What are they just like living in every day? And you're trying to introduce like a little more green into that ocean, And right now it's all blue.
Yeah. That's quite an interesting way of thinking about it. I like that. I like that. Right. Let's talk about some tactics. If you've written some content, you're a content marketer by trade. That's kind of what you do. So
Yeah.
you've written a great piece of content. How do you just go, yeah, I'm really happy with that, bang, or do you, what does, before like releasing it to the wild, is there a process you go through? Do you sleep on it? Do you ask AI? What do you do?
Everybody's got their own system, but the way that we run things at our agency is obviously more humans. We're a
Yes.
workshop. So, content workshop, we're a workshop for a reason. And that's because we know that I can come up with something really cool. But
Mm.
when I add you and your perspective to the mix, it can become something even cooler. So,
It's a really, yeah,
the
that's,
idea is that we're making each other better and stronger and helping ourselves develop better habits. Like our editors will go in and they will rip up your piece and you'll be like, oh, that was kind of painful, but I see it and you made really good points. And now it sounds so much better. Right. And it's like, I wouldn't have gotten there if I hadn't had you coming in and giving me a little bit of your view and your, special identity of like what you think is important to make sure is said or things that you just caught or tightening things up.
I love the positiveness around that. And I think that's really, really good. Quite often, and I think I've been accused of this in the past, and I think I changed. But being given something and then like revising it or tweaking it, I think some people might see revising it or tweaking it as, a negative. They're like, oh God, I thought that was brilliant. And you've just like ripped it to shreds. But the positiveness that you had, where it's like, no, it's made it even better. And like, essentially, we're all contributing to this, but it just makes it better. What would you do if you didn't have that team? You have that established way of working where you work now,
Yeah.
but what would you do if you didn't have those trusted partners with, that you could call them?
I mean, I think everybody should have somebody they can run stuff by.
Do they need to be a fellow marketer?
No, could be literally anybody because the thing
Yeah.
about ideas and communication, so content is communication and it's communicating an idea, and ideas are really heady. And so you can get really lost and sucked into your own idea and not realize, oh, I said it here, but I didn't define what it actually is. And so
Well, you sound
somebody
like
who reads
Grammarly
that for
now.
you, right? Like, and
You
then
sound,
somebody who reads that for you will be like, what are you referring to even in this sentence? And I'm like, oh my God.
My Grammarly tells me this all the time when I use the word this.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this referring to? And I'm like,
This
well, the previous sentence, but you have to go in and
which part
fix
of the
it.
previous sentence? Is it the final
Yes.
clause? Is it the noun of like the proper noun you started with? Like what?
Yeah.
Because there's so much, and that's what's so complicated about humans is like communication is so complicated. Like making sure that people understand you is really hard. And so we need other people to help us clarify our own thoughts and clarify our own ideas and clarify our own communication. Like we at the shop, we have a full Slack channel that's just email drafts, and everything that goes out to a customer gets reviewed by me, by my husband, the shop manager who writes it. We all just have a quick look. It takes 5 seconds usually, but we have a quick look just to be like, does this make sense? If I'm the customer sitting in his shoes or her shoes going, I just got my thing repaired, how am I going to react to getting this news? Sometimes it's bad news, sometimes it's we did a couple hours of work and we realize it's going to be another couple hours of work, and we got to communicate that to them, but we want to
Yeah.
do it in a way that's respectful and gives them the choice to be able to decide what they want to do about their instrument. And so even when I'm writing a LinkedIn post, I will send it by a friend just to be like, does this make sense? Does this did I miss because you can get so in your head, especially if you're writing from your heart. You can get really lost in your own thoughts and in what you're trying to say. And so it really, I think, is helpful to have somebody, even if it's just AI or Grammarly or some other tool, to just give you a little, heads up. This didn't really make any sense, or this I'm confused. It's ambiguous what you're saying here. Can
Yeah.
just make it a little bit clearer. And then every single time I've done that, it's always made it better. I'm like, oh, this is way clearer. Or, oh, this feels stronger. Or, oh, instead of feeling wishy-washy, now I have an opinion on something. And it's because somebody helped me or something helped push me to find it.
I bet that's the same for technical topics as well. I mean, you said about writing from the heart, which I think a lot of awareness people probably do. They're quite like the awareness people I know are quite passionate and are quite, we're all in this space because we care and we want to do better. We're not necessarily the most technical people. Some are, some aren't.
Yeah.
But even explaining the technical in a simple way, I always say, like, will my mum understand it? And my mum's in the 70s, but that's also relevant, isn't it? We need to make sure there's no assumed knowledge in there.
Yes, there's a lot. Humans make assumptions every single day, every second of the day about the context of something, who they assume it come from, what they assume that their tone is. Like when you think about a text that you get from somebody and it's one line and you're like, was that an angry one? Or was that, and that's just and that's somebody that's like known quantities. And now
how many times have you got into an argument with your spouse over text and then it's like, it's not actually an argument.
Not an argument at all.
Oh, it's not an argument. I just wanted to know what you wanted for dinner. And it's like, what do you want for dinner? It's like, no, that's not what I said.
I didn't say it that way. I said it like, hey, what do you want? What are you in the mood for?
Yeah.
And
wars have been started over text messages, I bet you.
Absolutely.
Just, we're running out of time, but there's a couple of more things I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
AI, there's a space for AI, is there? I mean, like AI, it's not replacing humans. We talked right at the off about AI content, can't write content with the empathy or feeling that humans can, but is there a space for AI?
There is, so don't get me wrong. I have so many feelings about AI. This could be a very long answer, so I'll try to keep it short. There's AI as your tool. And yes, AI is incredibly useful and we do utilize it. I try to utilize it more in my processes and systems in general. I think as an operational tool, it can be really helpful. I think as agentic comes up, I think there's going to be a lot more that we'll see in terms of AI being genuinely really helpful, instead of a lot of the biggest use case people see for it is like, blah out some content for me because I'm too lazy to do it for myself, basically, or I'm too time strapped, or I'm too whatever. And that leads me to the other way I feel about AI, which is like, it's really concerning that people are outsourcing their brains to this thing to think for them. And like when AI came, like generative AI came out like 2.5 years ago, whenever that
Yeah.
was. I mean, it was the first thing I thought about. I can't help it. I come from, Master of Arts, cultural, social, and political thought was my like concentration. I thought a lot about like the high theory level of how do humans think about ourselves? How do we interface with the world? What's the conception of like where we are going in our trajectory as humans? And I think
There's a
about
whole nother
as
there's
a
a whole
whole
nother
other thing.
episode there.
But like the AI thing is the problem I saw with it immediately was like, if we can all agree, and I think we can, that by writing, we are clarifying our thinking. And if
Yeah.
we outsource all of our writing, then our thinking is going to go like this. Like it's going to be muddy. We're not going to be able to create sound arguments. We're not going to understand how to critically poke and prod something to understand all the different sides of it. Like what makes a lot of people really successful with AI is their ability to prompt it and poke it and make it give you better answers, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, maybe there will be a subset of people that are like really figuring that out and really good. But the rest of the folks that just like aren't taking the time to actually think and write for themselves, that I feel like
Yeah.
that's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think you're bang on. Like some people, if they really flex that AI muscle and learn how to use it well,
Yeah. It's just
then it will
another
make them more
tool. It's something
powerful.
that they can,
Yeah.
they've learned how to like a software engineer getting really good at their job and stuff like that. It's like it's that same kind of thing. You're figuring out how to make it work, how to prompt it, how to give it all the right context that needs to be helpful for you. That's,
Yeah.
and I mean, like, that's what we do every day here is it's all about context. Content is context. It's contextual. Like what you assume about it. The Onion presents itself as a newspaper, but it's not. And that's what's funny, right? That's
Mm.
literally what makes it funny. And so context is it massively important, which is why at the start of any of our engagements, we're always doing personas and messaging and making sure that we understand exactly who they're talking to and what context they are receiving this content in, right? Like when they're sitting down to read this, what's going through their mind? Are they sitting at their desk? Are they at home? Are they distracted? Is their boss walking around behind them all the time, and they feel really put on the spot? Like what's the context of this? Because it gives like you can't write a very effective piece of content unless you understand that.
No.
The other thing about AI, which I will mention, just being a person who knows a lot of writers and things like that, is there's another part of me that feels very conflicted about the fact that it's been trained on all this unpaid content. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a really rough thing that we all just have to figure out how we want to come to terms with that.
It's funny. There was a project, and it now makes sense. There was a project years ago where Google was scanning every single book.
All the books, yes. I remember
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
And I bet that data's gone into Gemini.
Mhm.
I bet you that all that data's gone into Gemini.
Yeah,
I bet
for
it,
sure.
because they stopped that project. I think they were going to release all the books or release digital copies of all the books, and it was their version of the big library. But yeah, I hadn't thought about that until now.
Oh yeah.
A small team. Most awareness professionals are a team of one.
Mm-hmm.
Some, if they're lucky, are a team of two.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of teams that are much bigger at some big retailers. But how can small teams, limited budgets, how do you think they can stand out? What if is there something they can do, or is it just
I feel
be
like you're talking
human?
about marketing teams. Most of the teams we
What's
work with are like these small, they might be the whole team and they're like 3 people and they're all kind of solo marketers that are figuring it out. It's like this person handles content, but they handle all of content and they do it with this agency and those 2 freelancers and the support of their product marketing manager, and then that PMM is doing all of these things. So we've got a very similar thing we're dealing with on the marketing side. What you guys are doing really is like, I don't know if you guys sit inside, like in the security team, or if you sit
typically
with
cyber?
comms, because
Yeah,
a lot of what you're talking about is interfacing with, like it is sort of like internal communications in a way. It is like being there. How do you stand out? I don't know. Do you guys like? I don't even know. Like, how many people are remote? How many people are in person? Just of the workforce that you're trying to educate. How do you get in front of people? It's the same thing in marketing. It's like, can you put on an event and then slip some kind of a cute, funny cyber thing into it? I don't like. I don't know. It's hard.
What would the benefit of slipping something cute and funny that was cyber related be?
Because you want
What?
people, so people remember things when there's a strong emotion attached to them. So
Yes.
either something really positive or really negative. So when we're trying to drive behaviors, one of the things you might look at is like, well, they've been hacked before, so they understand the importance of security. Those people are already going to be easier to work with because they have the innate emotional memory of having been hacked and how awful that experience was and how afraid they were and all of that. The other way, if there's people like haven't really been exposed to it or didn't know they were exposed or like nothing bad's really happened for it, they're living in this dreamland of like, I'll never get hacked and I'll never have to worry about this. Just like, no, this inevitability, it is a ticking clock for you, my friend.
Yeah.
So
it's going to happen.
I think creating a positive emotion can be really good. And I think it could even be really stupid. Like, I think maybe jokes or comedy or something could be a way of, because otherwise, like cybersecurity, a lot of it is really doom and gloom. And it is, it's real, it's scary. Catastrophic things can happen to a business, to a person, personally or otherwise. And so it can get very serious very quickly. And it's easy to lean on that as like the fear factor. We talk about that as fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which like the FUD, which I'm sure you are very well aware of, but even marketing, right? And so a lot of conversations we have around cybersecurity marketing and like, for example, like Cybersecurity Marketing Society, which is another organization that I'm affiliated with. And we talk about FUDless. How do you go FUDless in the cybersecurity sphere? And I feel like that is maybe a question for your teams, is like a lot of the more impactful things can just be really silly. Like, could you hire, for example, another marketer that works with Louis Grenier, is Mark Thomas, and he does these really funny, like 2-minute marketing joke videos, like music videos. And
he's the guy that sings the songs, isn't he? On
he
like
sings the songs.
LinkedIn and
And I'm like, what if there was that for cybersecurity awareness? Like, what if there was something really kind of just like stupid? And that would make people remember it at least, right? And then you just slowly, it's about building trust. Like at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is build trust and have people trust us that we're trying to help them. And when they trust that we're trying to help, then they'll be more likely to do the things we want them to do or that we're asking them to do, or adopt that new tech, that new password manager or whatever it happens to be. But like the qualifier, the bar is their trust there. And however you create that with like a strong rapport, that's a really great place to springboard off of. It's hard to do that when you're building something on fear, because now they're going to look at everybody with fear, even the people that are trying to help them.
Yeah, it kind of closes you off as well, doesn't it? When you're scared, it doesn't leave you open to like, you're not receptive to new things.
Yes.
You kind of emerge like all of a sudden, like, closed off and physically that's one thing, but it kind of happens mentally as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Before we wrap up, a couple of quickfire questions, which may not end up being quickfire questions, but they may be. One buzzword that you'd love to ban.
Oh. I don't know. I'm bad. Buzzwords that I want to ban. I mean, anything driven. AI driven. You know what I mean? Like anything driven. Can we just get rid of that? We don't need that anymore.
Yeah. What was one I heard a couple of weeks ago? Deep dive. Someone's like had enough of like taking a deep dive into things.
And we've been using that one for like, I mean, as long as I've been in marketing, like over 10 years. That's too long to do a deep dive on something.
Yeah. You're suffocating by now. You need to come back up to the surface.
Exactly. We got to come back up now and then. We got to keep it a little surface level now and then.
Yeah. Is there a marketing campaign or a piece of content or someone that some marketing that you wish your name was against? Is there something that you're like, oh, I love that. I wish I'd have thought of that. I wish I'd have done that.
I feel like I see a lot of cool things pretty often, actually, because I follow a lot of really good marketers, but there's nothing that like pops into my head immediately.
Even that though, right? You follow a lot of really good marketers.
Yeah.
You can learn and you can be
Oh,
inspired and
yeah. I
not
learn all the
steal,
time.
but
All the
be
time.
inspired by.
I can't help
Yeah.
myself. I think that's why I did an MA and stuff. I just like I thirst, and why I'm in cybersecurity marketing. Not just like you could go and do e-com, right? Like I could go and do a variety of things, but like I love cybersecurity because there's that challenge, and I my brain needs to absorb. It's just it needs to absorb more. It wants
Yeah.
more. And I because cybersecurity is so challenging to market in, that industry is just such a tough industry to market in. It's like you're constantly trying to sharpen your knives. And I'm like, hey, what are other people doing? Are they going all in on like big ebooks? Are they going all in on buyer's guide? There's a big move right now towards bottom of the funnel. So we're seeing like a lot more buyer's guides and solution briefs and things like that coming out, where people are just sort of like doubling down on their point of view and their perspective and their strengths, which is really cool because for a long time it's been more SaaS marketing and sort of like like bad SEO, e-com driven kind of style of
Yeah.
marketing for the last like 10, 15 years. And it's nice to see things come back around to like fundamentals.
Yeah.
But I mean, one of the guys I follow a lot is Liam Maroney, and he is just constantly driving home brand marketing and the importance of being in the, like I was talking about earlier, like being in the consideration set, making sure like um Pat Blaja at I think it's at Winter um sends these emails about he's been doing a lot of work on like surveying CISOs and not CISOs necessarily, but like C-suite, and understanding like how buying decisions are getting made in some of these larger organizations. And it truly is, if you're not in that consideration set, like 92% of businesses will buy one of the first three companies they thought of when they're making a
Yeah.
purchase decision. And so like you are fighting for mental availability. You're not fighting for anything else. It's like,
This is Coke,
yeah,
essentially, isn't it? You're
yeah,
fighting. It's the Coke mindset. Why do Coke keep advertising? So when you open a fridge, you pick up a
yes,
can of Coke.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you could give one bit of advice to a security awareness team, and I realize you're not a security awareness professional, but if all of a sudden, you've found yourself sat in a security awareness chair with security awareness as your product, do you have a bit of advice?
I don't have necessarily advice, but I have a question that maybe they could think about, which is
Okay.
we sort of talked a little bit about it in our previous conversations before this recording, but is there a way that they can work closer with the marketing team, not just to bounce ideas off of, but also to secure them? But I think like there's more people than just your people on your team that you can look to for
Mm.
ideas. Like we like to think, I'm in my little throne and I'm the marketer. So I have to come up with all the cool, fun ideas. And you don't talk to the tech guy who actually, the software dev who's working, around the corner from you in his little cubicle. And you're like, well, what if you sat down with him for like 15 minutes and you know, just chatted about whatever and got his opinion on some things, or maybe ideas he had, because maybe he's actually thought about this before. Maybe he has ways he'd rather be communicated with as an end user, as a buyer, or as that kind of person. And so I think getting out of our own, like
Getting out of our bubble.
getting out of our bubble is just so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's such a great bit of advice. It's very easy to sit in your ivory tower or even kind of have faux empathy.
Yes.
I used to work on a shop floor. I know what it's like for them. But actually, do you know what it's like in your business at this time today?
Yeah.
Or and also talking to marketing, like, is there someone in your business that doesn't work within cybersecurity awareness that
Yeah.
you can bounce ideas off because they've got a similarly inquisitive mind, and you might
Yeah.
get a great, hive mind going. I love that. I think that's brilliant advice. I
Thank
think that's
you.
great.
I just I have always as marketing, you can feel really siloed because you're just kind of even just on the marketing team, say you're a team of 3 as well. And
Yeah.
those are the only people you're supposed to talk to.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a director, but it's your VP who's giving all the presentations and defending the strategy and the decisions and the budget and where all the
Yeah.
money's going and all of that stuff. And you're like, I'm just kind of trying to do my job, but also I feel really alone here. I
Mhm.
feel like I don't feel connected maybe to the sales team or to the product team or what is happening here. And so I think it's important for us to actually meet other people in our org because we're all trying to sell the same thing. We're all trying to help people in a similar way. We're all trying to secure and create a stronger foundation for our business, whether you're talking with people in operations or security or whatever. And so you have the same overall goal. So maybe they have some thoughts. You literally never know unless you talk with somebody. So take them
Yeah.
out for a coffee and see how the conversation goes.
I love it. I love it. Last question. You mentioned Severance, but is there a book, a TV program, or an album? Is there, if you could recommend one piece of media that someone goes away and checks
Just for fun?
just for fun? Doesn't have to be related to sales and marketing.
Oh. I was really obsessed. I'm a big sci-fi person. Um, and so I was really obsessed when the Three Body Problem first came out, the books,
Yep.
10 years ago, maybe a little longer than that. And that is an amazing series. If you enjoy sociology and thinking about how people would behave in end of world type scenarios, but there's different options and there's cool tech, and as an actual former nanotech engineer, he has a lot of really cool details that he shares in there and ways of thinking
Yep.
about visualizing what it would look like to see things in fourth dimension and fifth dimension and stuff like that. There's some really cool kind of things like that. I would say that
Cool.
the show is not very representative of it.
Right.
But the book is quite good. And another book that I love also when it comes to sociology kind of type things is a series called Lilith's Brood by Octavia Butler. And
Right.
that's also an incredible series. It's the idea that these humans have basically brought themselves to the end of the world. I think there was a nuclear fallout kind of situation. It's
Right.
World War III or 4 or 5 happened. And it's all kind
Not
of
too far off the truth, but
and these aliens come and they have the tech to heal every single person. But in order to
wow.
participate, you have to give some of your genes to them. You have to give some of your
Right.
genome. And so it's some people hold out, some people don't. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be this kind of hybrid? What does it mean to give of yourself to make the collective stronger? There's lots of really interesting questions you can pull on and think through when you read a book like that. So I would highly recommend that series as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Brilliant. That's all we've got time for. Thank you for your time. I think that's been brilliant. We've covered so much.
Maybe a little too much. We went a lot of places and I love it because I don't know. I get bored. I get bored of things and it's nice to be able to jump around. And I mean, the thing about being an English major or an English master is you can pull almost anything back to whatever topic it is you want to. And you're so good at that too. You're you know what, that reminds me of this in cybersecurity. And I'm you know it. And well, thank you. This was such an amazing conversation. I really appreciated it.
We'll probably have you back at some point because there was a couple of things you said there that you didn't even cover. And I was like, hang on, where did that come from? So yeah, I'll probably have you back on soon. Lori,
Yay.
thanks so much. And we'll speak soon.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Ant.
Bye.
Bye.